A Mother's Promise. It was a cold, gray morning when little Arya woke up to the sound of the wind howling outside her small, dilapidated home. The sky was heavy with clouds, and the streets of the town were wet with last night's rain. She rubbed her eyes and looked around the empty room, her small hands clutching the thin blanket she slept under. Today, like every day, she would have to face the world with a heavy heart. Her mother, Lena, had been sick for months now. The cough had started as a minor annoyance, but it had grown worse with time, and no amount of medicine seemed to help. Lena was always the strongest woman Arya had known. She would wake up before dawn, cook whatever little they had, and send Arya off to school with a smile on her face. But now Lena's smile had faded, replaced by a quiet sorrow that weighed on the room like a shadow. Arya knew she had to be brave. She was only 10, but the harshness of life had forced her to grow up faster than other children. At school, she tried to focus on her lessons, but her mind kept wandering back home. She worried constantly about her mother. What if she can't get better? Arya whispered to herself one day as she held her mother's frail hand. Lena's eyes, dim with fatigue, met hers. "Don't worry, my little one," Lena said softly. "I promise I will get better. I promise you, we will see brighter days again." Those words were a lifeline for Arya. Every day, she repeated them in her heart, hoping that somehow, the promise would be enough to heal her mother. But life had a cruel way of testing the limits of hope. One evening, after a particularly harsh winter storm, Lena's condition worsened. She was coughing so violently that Arya could barely hear her own thoughts. She ran to the neighbor, an old woman named Mrs. Collins, who lived 2 doors down. Together, they tried to find a doctor, but the roads were flooded and no one could reach them in time. Arya stayed by her mother's side through the night, holding her hand, whispering promises of love and praying silently for a miracle. But the morning came, and Lena's hand had grown cold in hers. Arya felt as if the world had stopped turning. The weight of grief pressed down on her tiny shoulders, and for the first time, she cried openly, her sobs echoing through the empty, rain-soaked streets. Days turned into weeks, and Arya wandered through life like a lost soul. School became a distant memory, and food often went uneaten. She missed her mother terribly, and every corner of the house reminded her of Lena's laughter and warmth. Yet, despite the pain, she remembered her mother's promise. "We will see brighter days again." One afternoon, as she sat on the steps of the local park, Arya noticed a small stray dog shivering under a bench. Its fur was matted, and it looked hungry. Something inside Arya stirred. She had nothing for herself, yet she slowly took off her coat and wrapped it around the dog. She shared the last piece of bread she had. The dog, sensing her kindness, nuzzled her hand and wagged its tail weakly. Arya smiled faintly, feeling a small spark of warmth in her heart. She decided to name him Hope. In the days that followed, Arya and Hope became inseparable. The dog followed her everywhere, a quiet reminder that, even in the darkest times, small glimmers of love could exist. Arya started helping in the town whenever she could. She would sweep the streets, deliver groceries for neighbors, or run errands, earning a few coins. Every coin she saved, she placed in a small jar. For brighter days, she whispered to herself each night. As months passed, Arya grew stronger, but the emptiness of her heart never faded. She often visited the local hospital, hoping to volunteer, to be near life and healing. One day, while helping carry supplies, she overheard a conversation between 2 doctors about a new treatment for illnesses like her mother's. Her heart raced. Could it be possible? Could Lena have been saved? Tears blurred her vision as she asked the doctors questions, her voice trembling. "Is it too late? Can this help her?" The doctors looked at each other, unsure how to respond. Arya realized that sometimes, hope was the only thing that could guide you, even when life seemed impossible. In the meantime, Arya and Hope continued their small adventures, bringing smiles to the faces of elderly neighbors and lonely children. They became a quiet force of compassion in the little town. People started to notice the girl who carried kindness in her heart despite the weight of her sorrow. One evening, as the sun set, Painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Arya sat by the riverbank with Hope. She whispered to the dog, "Mom promised brighter days, Hope. I just have to believe. I just have to." The wind carried her words across the water, mingling with the memories of laughter, warmth, and love she had lost. Years passed, and Arya grew into a young woman, still carrying the memories of her mother's love and the pain of loss. She became a nurse, dedicating her life to helping children who faced sickness and hardship. She never forgot the promise her mother made. Every child she treated, every small act of kindness, was her way of keeping that promise alive. And Hope, now older but still by her side, remained a constant reminder that even in the depths of despair, love and hope could survive. On quiet nights, Arya would sit by the riverbank, watching the reflection of the stars in the water. She would close her eyes and speak softly, as if speaking to her mother. "We saw brighter days, Mom. Because of you, I can give hope to others. I promise I'll never stop trying." The story of Arya and Hope is a reminder that sadness, loss, and grief are a part of life, but so are love, compassion, and the courage to move forward. Even when everything seems lost, the heart has a remarkable way of healing, one small act of kindness at a time.